The PTSA of Timber Creek High School is hosting a District 2 School Board Representative Candidate Forum today. People are already beginning to fill the room and preparing questions to ask candidates. The audience will be asking all of the questions for which each candidate will have up to 2 minutes to answer. The forum will start briefly, so stay tuned to learn more about each candidate's plans and priorities as a school board rep.
Thank you all for coming. We'd like to welcome you here tonight, and I'm Lori Forsman. I'm the Timber Creek PTSA president, and we're very honored and excited to be hosting this event. It's the first one that we've done, and we're hoping to give all of you the opportunity to ask questions of our District 2 candidates. And go to the next page because we're not doing that. So we have a lot of guests here with us tonight, so bear with me as I go through my introductions. We're going to start with our candidates for school board chair. So if each of you would just stand and be acknowledged. Matthew Fitzpatrick, Robin Allen Prater, and Nancy Robinson. Nancy is currently school board director. And then we have several candidates for District 1 representative, Angie Gallo. Angie's the current Florida PTA legislative rep, and Heather Trainer. And then tonight, I'd like to introduce our District 2 candidates. First, we have Sarah Aw. Quickly, before we get started on the questions, I'd like to thank the Beta students that we have here tonight from Timber Creek helping us. Also, our PTSA Vice President, Sherry Holmes. She has the president as well as Joanna Cantor, who's our second Vice President. Tonight, we will have a student from a senior at Timber Creek from the debate team, Sophia Nachan, who will be doing our moderating and our timekeeping tonight. As you see around you, we have our WolfTV team here tonight. We have Katharina W, who will be recording the event, and we'll be using that on YouTube. So we were going to live stream it, but we're going to do it recorded instead. So let me quickly go over the format for tonight's forum, because I want to be clear about how we want this to go. So, you received a handout, you should have when you came in. When we did the invitations for this event, sent out about 5 or 6 questions to the candidates. So these are the candidates that were in the Supervisor of Elections system or website as of March the 6th. So we sent them 5 or 6 questions, asked them to give us not only a brief bio, but the answers to these questions. So tonight in your handout, you have the answers from your District 2 candidates for the question that we gave to everyone about school safety. Then you also have answers to a different question from the candidates that are running for chair, and then a different question for the candidates running for district. So what we're doing tonight, we want to start off by saying we are not taking any questions tonight about school safety. So we won't take any questions from the audience. We did give you the answers to the candidate 2's questions about school safety so that you would have them, but we will not be discussing school safety tonight. It's just going to engulf the entire discussion. You'll never hear anything else from anybody else. So we want to eliminate that topic, but the good news is that next Thursday, April the 12th, at Legacy Middle School, I believe it's at 6:30, there is a school safety forum happening for the purpose of discussing school safety. So you won't be able to do it here tonight, but you'll be able to do it next Thursday night. So that's good news for everyone who came here to learn about that topic. Secondly, we are doing this as a question and answer session. So we will have Sophia read the name of the person who has submitted a question. One of our students will go into the audience with the microphone. The person will be allowed to read their question, and each of the candidate 2 representatives District 2 candidates will give an answer to that question. But we will not be debating. So once the question is asked, that is the question as it stands. We're not going to say, wait, I need clarification. There's no back and forth between the candidates and the audience. It's just the question that was asked and their answers. And then there is no discussion amongst the candidates, so there's no back and forth between the candidates either. This is not intended to be a debate. It's just intended to get information out about different topics, so everyone gets to give some information. Now, the last thing I didn't mention that I should have, and hopefully we'll get our computer running and we'll have some information on the screen. So all the other questions that we sent to the candidates, those answers have all been compiled, and we have put them in a shared Google Drive, so it's open to the public, so you will be able to go in this Google Drive and look at all the other questions that we asked them and all the other answers that they provided as well. So, let me make sure that we covered everything. I'm just going to check and make sure that, so when Sophia goes through the questions, each candidate, each District 2 candidate will have the opportunity to go first, so it will cycle through. Sophia will give the time. I don't know if she went over this with each of you, but she will give you, I think, a 30-second warning. She'll give you a warning before your time is up, so you'll have 2 minutes to respond to the question, kind of in order. And she will moderate that. Once again, please remember that we're not going back and forth between the audience, so once the question is asked, just give each of the candidates the opportunity to answer the question, and we're not cheering, clapping, any of that kind of stuff. We just want to make sure that they get a chance to give their information.
Hello. So, just to go over my procedures for timing, you guys have 2 minutes. I have my lovely debate gavel over there. At 1:30, I will tap my gavel, just to indicate that, hey, you have 30 seconds left. At 1:55, I will stand up. At 2 minutes, I will loudly, I just combined that. Oh my gosh. Loudly, I will gavel. At 2 minutes, I expect everyone here to just stop talking. You know, just for the respect of everyone, we are limited with time. So, any questions about my gaveling procedures? That will be loud, don't worry. We will begin with a little icebreaker. And she's here. Kaylee? Kaylee? Is she here? Kaylee? Hey, Kaylee, do you want to ask this question? And the topic of this question is as a pet.
I would probably pick something small that doesn't cause very many allergies, so everybody would be able to touch it, but that they would learn a lot from. One of my daughter's favorite teachers in 4th grade had a bearded dragon, and it was super, super cool. It was a little scary for some of the kids at first, but they really learned a lot about those kinds of animals and a lot about balance. So I think I would probably copy her idea and do a bearded dragon.
Thank you for the question. Hi, good evening. If I were to have a pet in my classroom, I think I would have a puppy, a really tiny puppy that had no hair, because I didn't want the kids to be allergic, but I want them to be able to pet the dog and the puppy. And I think they're very smoothing and relaxing, and research has shown that pets, like dogs, are, for kids who have stress and who have emotional issues, are really, really good for them in a calming, soothing way. They're a man's best friend, what can I say? So I think that I will definitely have a puppy, have the kids, do the toiletry kind of thing, outside, have them be able to participate and walk the puppy, and, so when they have their own, at least on top of learning math, reading, and everything else, they'll know how to take care of a pet.
Good evening, everyone. So, my animal is kind of funny because I have a few stories that go along with the reason as to why I picked. So, number one, this week, so I work at Innovation Middle School, which is a middle school that's just over in the Lake Nona area. And this morning, or actually it was yesterday morning, in the courtyard before school was starting, there was a girl sitting on the bench, and I was kind of sitting just next to her. We're getting ready for the kids to come to the courtyard from the cafeteria as the day starts. And there's like a drain right there, like a water drain, and you can just hear this noise. And I it's so quiet in the courtyard, I looked over at her and I said, "You heard that, right?" And she looks at me, and we kind of didn't really know if we heard it for sure. And then, we just turn back and keep to ourselves, and we hear it again. So I look over, and I said, "You heard that, right?" And she goes, "Yes." So anyways, there's this frog down this drain, and now every single morning, he's talking to us. Well, I say he could be a girl. He's talking to us and making this sound. And every single day, more and more people come to this drain and kind of look down, even though you can't see anything, and we hear this frog every single morning. So that's the first part of the story. The second part of the story is when my daughter was probably about 3 or 4 years old. She's taking a bath, and I'm at the back of the house, and I hear, our house was probably less than a year old, and I hear this screaming. All those parents here in this room can say, you hear your kid screaming, they're in the bathtub, something happened. She fell, she busted her head open, something bad happened. So I run to the bathroom, she's in the shower, or in the bathtub, and there's a frog swimming around her bathtub. She's screaming bloody murder because of this frog. So I'm going to pick a tadpole. And the reason I'm going to pick a tadpole is because at some point it's going to eventually grow into a frog. And as a teacher, I'm able to see these kids blossom as they grow.
I'm going to go, I guess, thank you for everybody for being here first and foremost, but I'm going to go with a big, beautiful macaw. And let me tell you why. It's special to me because when I was dating my wife, we were in Cartagena, Colombia. And, you're right there on the beach in Cartagena, so you've got the wind coming in, and around 7 in the morning I hear, "Dame beso," which means give me a kiss. And it sounded like an older lady. And I told my wife, it's like, somebody's being really loud at the pool. She goes, no, that's a bird. I said, baby, that is a person. And then she goes, no. And then a few minutes later, I hear, "Que pasa?" And I'm like, see, it's speaking to people, or she's speaking to people. She goes, no, that's a bird. So we go down to the pool later on, and I'm swimming around the pool, and I hear, "Dame beso," and I look up, big, beautiful macaw. So I guess that'd be my classroom spirit.
First of all, I have to think which level I'm going to teach to choose which type of animal I'm going to choose. But in this case, I was thinking about elementary school, maybe kindergarten kids. I was thinking about a hamster, to put it in a plastic box so we can analyze the movement of the hamster, they cannot touch it. Obviously, it's going to be a risk for the hamster and a risk for the kids. So we can't just make a class and connection, just analyzing the movement of the hamster inside of the box and just bring it home every weekend to take care of the hamster and just, that's what I think. I don't know, it was a very hard question for me, high school teacher.
The next question comes from Jose Bosque. The topic of the question is Hurricane Maria displaced students. As we know, thousands of students were displaced in Puerto Rico and now are coming to our county and also some Osceola schools. So Mr. Jose Bosque, if you're here, here is your question. Do you want to come up here? You want me to say you can say
The question is, what should the district do to assist the students, which the majority of them are going to need ESOL services?
So in terms of, back and forth. So the school district has done many things for the students who have come here from Puerto Rico, which has been wonderful. I have been blessed to be a part of some of the activities that have been happening in schools around the district, and to see and hear the stories of some of the students that have been coming over, which there has been many. Some are very sad, unfortunately, and being able to hear some of those stories firsthand and to come back to the district office where I work and talk to some of the other people who have not been able to get out into the schools to see and hear some of these stories of these students has been really important. One of the things that is important is the ESOL skills that the people who are coming here are going to need, but also for the parents as well. And I think that one of the areas of engagement that we can do better from a district perspective on is with the families of the students who are coming over here and joining our school family. One of the things that we have found to be happening in a lot of families is that the parents are staying in Puerto Rico and the children are coming here and they're living with extended family members, some of whom are a little bit older and maybe haven't been engaged in the school district before, either here in Orlando or not for many years. And so being able to have a welcome meeting, have the parents be able to come in or Skype in or talk with the teacher and with the administrators has been really crucial. And being able to engage those family members or those friends that are taking care of the students who are here in our schools is very crucial. In terms of in the classroom, many of our schools already have very robust ESOL programs. Thank you.
Well, this topic is dear to my heart because as a Puerto Rican, I have direct family that were affected by the hurricane. I work for Osceola County's public schools, so what we've done is we've made an extended effort in our school. I work at Kissimmee Elementary. I was an instructional coach for ESOL in Orange County. So what I did was we gathered staff together, and in 2 separate staff development opportunities, I was able to present ESOL strategies or how to help best practices for ESOL students who are non-English speakers just arriving from the islands. I also provided an information night for parents. So we gathered our parents on a Thursday night, invited all the new parents that came from the islands, and did information on how our schools are run here, what were the rules and procedures of how, our schools are managed and how the education system works here versus in the island, because it's totally different and parents need to become informed. I also, we work together with a social worker to be able to connect families, because we had a lot of families that are still staying in hotels. So we work with a social worker and with our guidance counselors in conjunction with our stakeholders and community partners to be able to provide services and money and funding for those parents who were not able to receive FEMA money. Another thing that we've done is we provided backpacks for
for our students, and every week they get backpacks with food and non-perishable items to take home, especially those that are living in hotels, so that they can have something to eat during the weekend.
Jose, thanks for your question. So, to address the students coming over from Puerto Rico, I would also like to add that we have a large amount of students coming from Central and South America, Venezuela, Colombia, so many other countries. So we have an increase in students that's still going on right now. So number one, we need to take care of these kids physically. Where are they staying, their home situation? We need to take care of their mental health and the tragedies that they're dealing with the hurricane and having to move. Academics is not on the first thing on their minds. It's not the first thing that's on their parents' minds. So we need to first take care of the child. And so that is what I think we should do first. So we've also had employees come over from Puerto Rico. We personally at our school have 2 teachers that came over from Puerto Rico, and the first thing that our campus did was to reach out to them and say, hey, what do you guys need? What kind of clothes do your kids need? The students actually go to Legacy just down the street, so that's how we help them first. And then we start worrying about the academics. As a teacher, I can honestly say, this is my 20th year in education. I don't feel, though, that I have enough training to help students that speak other languages. I feel as though that the minimal training that I'm required to have as a school employee, as a teacher, is not enough. So as a district, we need to implement more training for our teachers, our staff, to actually know how to handle these students, to actually service them, to help these kids, because I don't think we're prepared. And as a former high school student or high school teacher and now middle, it's actually less than when you're talking about elementary teachers. So we need more training as teachers and staff to help these kids. Classrooms that are sheltered where you have all students of other languages being helped not only with the subject like math or science, but actually being helped with their English speaking skills as well. So take care of the child first, and then we can deal with the academics secondary.
Dr. Buster, thank you for the question. Well, let's talk about a couple of things first. And for me personally, it's the whole process. It's intimidating to people when they start the process. When I first registered my little boy, who's half Colombian and half American, the whole process where they ask you the questions, is there another language spoken in your home other than English? Is there another language other than English spoken in the house as the primary language? So, there's 3 of those questions, and it becomes very intimidating. So once the kids are here, number one, the trauma that they've endured, they've lost their home, they've lost everything, a lot of their parents aren't here. So again, we can talk about what we do. First thing you have to do is you have to lighten the load off of their little shoulders. That school is their safe place. So when they're there, they know that they're taken care of. And quite frankly, that the people that they're with who may be intimidated by that process can get their hands held a little bit more to walk them through the process. And again, when you look at questions like this, again, you look at the root cause. A lot of this comes from Tallahassee. The money comes from the state level for a lot of this. The ESOL program is federally funded. So a lot of this comes from other places. So you have to have buy-in from your schools, from the PTAs, and for us, for the children that came here from Puerto Rico, what did we do? Every single kid that showed up to my school got free uniforms and free school supplies. So we did everything we could. We had the ladies in the PTA that spoke Spanish interpreting and helping the kids and the families. So it's got to start there first. You got to have that strong core. Thank you.
In Colonial High School, we have the majority of the Puerto Rican students displaced by Hurricane Maria. I'm a teacher at Colonial High School, and I can tell you that we have a lot of potential at OCPS, but we are not doing enough. We have the ESOL strategies, of course, but it's very generic. It's for every student that are coming from a foreign country. We also have Parent Academy, but we are not giving the Puerto Rican families the services that they are in need at this moment. For example, I have a group of Latinos in Action, 69 students in one class. We have to fight because we have to divide the group in two, but we were finding that those students are in need of mental health. You're coming from Puerto Rico, you're living with another person, maybe a family member, maybe a friend. Now you're facing anxiety, depression. You need more than just ESOL strategies. You just have to start with mental health services and initiatives, with the psychologists, with the SAFE coordinator, and then we can work with that student with the content of the class. Our parents also need to be educated with this system. This system is not similar with the system from Puerto Rico, and they're not having that education either. I think that we can improve. We have a lot of potential, but we can improve the services for the Puerto Rican students and also for the Puerto Rican teachers and also for the Puerto Rican parents.
The next question comes from Amy Benson. She's currently at her 3rd elementary school in 4 years because of the growth in the Lake Nona area. Ms. Benson.
My question is, how would you manage the growth, especially in our area, the Lake Nona area, and its needs for schools? And my question also asked, where is the new high school to relieve Lake Nona High School?
Thank you for your question. I think that because of the growth that's going on in Lake Nona, because of the medical city that has made Lake Nona a very rich environment, inviting environment for development. I think that we just opened Innovation Middle School this year, and my grandsons attend. They used to go to Lake Nona, now they go to Innovation Middle School. And I think that we actually going to end up opening another school because of the growth that's coming in there constantly. Hopefully we'll get another high school in there because the kids won't be able to travel to Cypress Creek, which is probably the closest on Orange Avenue, or go all the way to Colonial. I think we need more funding. Everything is based on the capital, and I think that we have about $2.7 billion in the capital outlay for the district, for the budget to improve and renovate schools. I think we need more than that, because that's not enough dollars or funding to be able to appropriate services and needs for the growing communities that we have. It's not just Lake Nona, it's Avalon Park, it's growing and expanding. So I think that the funding that we need to move or to get into that capital outlay fund needs to increase. That's one way to start it. There's about six schools who opened between 2019 and 2021 that are already in the process of being developed and approved. So I think that we need a lot more funding.
So this is a very personal question for me because my daughter goes to Sunblaze Elementary, which is in its 5th year of existence. And I think the numbers are almost up to 1,300 students for elementary school. I'm currently teaching, like I said, at Innovation Middle School. We're in our 1st year. We have about just under 1,100 students for a middle school. So you can obviously hear the statistics there where you have an elementary school with 1,300 students and a middle school with only 1,100. And there's no relief in sight. My daughter's school has almost 26 portables. Innovation Middle in year 2 is going to have portables next year. Lake Nona High School is going to have portables next year. And I would imagine that Timber Springs eventually will have portables in the near future. Now we all love the Sunbridge Parkway, right? It's a great way to get to between the Lake Nona area and Avalon Park area. My daughter is at Magic Curry Production, so on Mondays it's really nice to get here a lot quicker. However, as Innovation Way starts to be developed and the area between Avalon and Lake Nona gets developed, our school issues are going to be widespread in District 2. So we need to be creative, we need to have something done, we need to have it done now. Funding from the state is probably not going to happen So we need to look potentially adding onto campuses instead of adding portables, actually adding bigger buildings to increase the size of the student, the enrollment opportunities. We could potentially look at school zoning changes. We have some schools in District 2 that are well below capacity, while we have schools in the Lake Nona area that are well over capacity. So we need to have grand ideas, not rely on the state of Florida for funding, and we need to get with our community, get with our developers, and look at our developers to potentially add some money to the development and construction of schools, because they're building these apartments, townhomes, and brand new homes, but they're not offering anything for the schools. And what's going to happen is they're going to end up suffering when their schools are overcrowded. So we need to be creative and in action now.
Well, I will say this. Like, my little boy, we live in Lake Nona. We live in North Lake Park in that area. And I will tell you, unfortunately, to David's point, the developers do something. They pay impact fees, which arguably some is enough, some is not enough. But at the end of the day, when it comes to capital and renovation, for next year, you're looking at $2.4 billion. So to answer specifically your question, Lee Vista. There's property over there. Is that about right? The district owns property over there. So you'll probably, I don't know when, but you'll probably see the Lee Vista area be the next high school in the area. And when you look at the dollars that are spent, you know, everybody's right. You can't count on the state, because guess what? 40% of our state budget right now goes to HHS. Another 35 is going to education. So we're kind of running up against the wall when it comes to services for the citizens of the state of Florida. So with that being said, when you look at Orange County as a whole, because again, development throughout our county is not slowing down anywhere. So you're going to continue to see overcrowding in schools. And again, I think my little boy is at North Lake Park, and the HOA doesn't allow portables. So we've hit almost our capacity here quickly. You've got a lot of co-teaching going on. So when you start looking at schools, it's to be on the school board with that, it's tough. And it's almost a no-win, because it's a double-edged sword with the development plus the need for schools. So, thank you.
We cannot stop the growth, obviously. We have to do something, and we have to prioritize our students' safety and well-being in a school system. We have to make arrangements and think about the demographics of the place, just to make it relevant when we make the structure, but we have to use the money, the budget that we have at that point, because there is no way that you have no more space and you're not allowed to use on some of the cases to use portables. We have to do something, and sometimes rezoning is not the option. Sometimes you don't want to be from Lake Nona, you don't want to be in another school that you might not feel comfortable. And you might think that, I feel that it's closer from where I live. I face the same situation when my daughter, we live closer to Vista Elementary School, and my daughter was zoning to Hidden Oaks. I think, but why? We can just go by walking to the school, to Vista Elementary, instead of having a bus to just go to Hidden Oaks. I think that, I believe that we have to take in consideration that when we have the growth, there is no other options. We have to prioritize and make the structure and think about the demographics and the infrastructure of the school, and also the streets. We have to take in consideration even transit, and we have to do what we have to do.
So I actually have firsthand knowledge with this issue. A few years ago, as many of you in the room know, we were facing ridiculous overcrowding at Avalon Middle School, and there was an hang-up with building the relief school down the street, which has now opened and is wonderful, Timber Springs Middle. In the meantime, though, we were faced with 1,800 and change students in the middle school. We were the largest middle school in the district at that point, and it was not only unsafe, it was not a good environment for learning. It was not a good environment for tweens and teens to be in where they needed to be able to stretch their wings, but they were so crowded that they couldn't. Now, I will say, the school did a wonderful job making sure that the kids in that school were able to do as much as they could, and that they worked that overcrowding as best they could, and they made lemonade out of lemons. However, parents need to get involved, and you need to be able to go down to the zoning meetings, you need to go to the county commission meetings, and you need to make sure that our school district is working with our county government, because that's where so much of this growth and the solutions to the growth lie. When the developers are building, they do have to pay impact fees, unless they get a waiver. And who gives them a waiver? The county government does. So, you need to stay on top of it. We all need to stay on top of it. But as parents in an area of high growth, that's something that will work wonders if you've got a group of people who everybody knows is watching all the time. Good fist bump, nice. So, I'm happy to give you some ideas of what we learned at that point. But 32 schools in the next 2 years are going to be repaired, renovated, or rebuilt, or built brand new. $726 million. And that comes chiefly from the half-penny sales tax, which does come from the state. And those dollars are funded through 2025. So we're pretty good when it comes to funding of it. It's the planning that we need to work on. And that's something that I pledge to work better with the county government, as well as the district as a whole.
The next question is from Heather Campion. Its topic is about FSA testing, standardized testing. She says, if you believe that our children are taking too many standardized tests, how would you try to change this state mandate? And Heather?
Yeah, that was pretty much the question. Do you believe that there's too much testing and assessing in the school? How would you try to change it because of the state mandate?
I absolutely believe there's too much testing. This is, when you have a testing season, that's a problem. It should be a learning season, it should be a graduation season, it should be prom season, not testing season. As a geometry teacher, we took our FSA towards the end of April. So take away a month of our school year, then you can throw in some other dates where we have FSA reading, FSA rights, FSA everything, PSAT, SAT, you name it, Khan Academy once a week. We had so many days that we lost instruction. Now I understand that the FSA is a requirement of the state of Florida. There's no way around that. But we have benchmark exams that we currently have. We have iReady pre-test, iReady post-test. There's so many assessments that's going on, and that's just in addition to your science test, your US history test, your physics test. These students are being assessed way too much. So as a school board member, yes, I can't change the state law, but I can advocate for our students. I can go to Tallahassee, I can be involved in the legislative process and talk from a teacher's perspective as to how much negatively it is affecting students, parents, not only at school but at home. These third graders, my daughter's a third grader, she's taking her first FSA. The mental anguish they have the day before, the weeks before, the months before. You have some elementary schools in the district that are doing celebrations of how much time they're working online at home. So many other things. The state of education when it comes to assessment is just so disconnected with what our students need. Do we need to determine what our students know and give assessments? Absolutely. But they need to be written by district staff. They need to be written by teachers, not Pearson testing companies that are making millions, if not billions of dollars on our students, on our kids, and on our schools. So again, I would advocate for our kids, our schools, as the best that I can as a school board member, locally as well as at the state level, and potentially nationally.
I don't want to speak for everybody up here, but I will say this. I bet you there's not a single person up here that doesn't agree with what David just said. True? Can I get an amen? There you go. So again, when you start looking at what's going on, I will share one of my experiences. When you want to get things changed, it does come back to advocacy. It comes back to the parents. It comes back to moms and dads making phone calls. Over the last 2 years, I was blessed enough, and again, I wasn't in charge of it. I was a member and a part of it. I was a recess mom. Okay, I was very happy to be a recess mom. People, oh, you're recess? No, I was a recess mom, and I own it. So when it comes to making sure kids get what they need, the squeaky wheel gets the oil and the grease in Tallahassee. And I will also say this, when it comes to this particular topic, again, my children are going to be on their way up here shortly, and when it comes to testing, advocacy in Tallahassee is about relationships. And I will say this, I have relationships with so many of the people that are currently in office right now. I can make a phone call, and they will call back. So when it comes to getting this done, it comes back to being a strong advocate and not letting them off the hook and letting them know we will hold you accountable. We don't care if you're a Republican. You know what? We don't care if you're a Democrat. We simply care that our children are taken care of, and when you turn your back on our kids, you turn your back on us.
I'm glad to hear this. I'm against of the standardized test. I think that we have a lot of students that are having a lot of anxiety because of the testing. We start testing on March, okay? And we have to repeat the class again and again and again. And also, if you add to this anxiety that the teachers are having evaluations based on that performance, imagine that. The student with anxiety, the teachers with anxiety, and here we go again with the mental health problems. I believe that we can be advocates against the FSA to be mandate to have a high school diploma. I think that we can give them the choice to the students. Not all of the students are going to the university. And sometimes they're saying you cannot have the diploma even if you're not going to the university because you did not pass the FSA. And also we have another test, for example, ACT, SAT, the PERT, that can substitute the FSA. And imagine, for example, I have a lot of Puerto Ricans, seniors, that came from Puerto Rico and they were saying, Miss, I passed the SAT. That means that I don't have to take the FSA. No, you know what? They have to pass the FSA because the counselor is saying, no, even you have to take the FSA just to fail the FSA. So the SAT counts on you and you can have the diploma. Something that is, for me, is unrealistic and it's not fair for the students because if he passed the SAT, he doesn't have to take the FSA, but in this case, no. It needs to have the opportunity to take the FSA, fail the FSA, so the SAT or SAT count for him to get the diploma.
Yes, I believe our students have too many tests. I do also believe that we need to test our students and we need to know what they're learning and that the teachers in the classroom are teaching them and that is happening. Classroom instruction is key, obviously, in our school system. But one of the things that I think our district can do is look to Seminole County, which recently has made some changes in their district tests. They removed almost all of the district tests that they were using, and they have to do the state ones by law, but they have removed all of the common final exams. And they are using the ACT and the SAT instead of some of the other tests that they had. They're also using, from what I understand, iReady to pull some of the data that they need to fill in the data points that would otherwise be tests for the youngest children. And so being able to be creative in all of those pieces is something that I would support as an Orange County School Board member. But what we really need to do is we need to stop electing the same people in Tallahassee that get elected over and over and over again. are complacent, we are complicit, and we need to stop being complacent. And it's something that I feel very strongly about. Our district is the 9th largest school district in the nation. We are the 4th largest school district in Florida. We have played it safe for the last 10 years, trying to play nice with Tallahassee, and it hasn't really helped us very much. I understand the reasoning for it, because they can be a little addictive. But we need to throw our weight around a little bit more.
Thank you all. I'm totally against the FSA, because I think I'm all about accountability, because we need to be able to measure what our students are learning and what our teachers are teaching. That's imperative. However, I don't think that one single test can measure what your child's cognitive ability and whether they articulate to another grade level or whether they have the opportunity to graduate from high school. We can use the SAT as depending on how much they score, to pass the FSA, to be a substitute for the FSA, and a lot of students do that. However, if you have a student that has a second language that is not English, then that either one of those tests is irrelevant, because it's not about the test itself, it's about language acquisition. So it doesn't really matter whether it's one test or the other. So that's one thing to take into consideration. And I think we need to find those options to allow our students to have either other ways of measurement, and of course exams, teacher-based exams, portfolios, projects. There's other ways of measuring whether the student acquired the Sunshine State standards that they needed for that grade level, or for any kind of level, from elementary all the way to high school. I think that our students are over-tested, not only with iReady, which is a reading and math program, but with other tests and other district assessments that are given our students. They start very early. I think by the time the real FSA comes around in March and April, our kids are tired, they're stressed. Teachers are teaching to a test instead of teaching their class. And I think we need to go back to our regular teaching, that our teachers are teaching for the love of teaching and not for our kids to be able to pass the test so they can go to the next level. And I think as parents, I have advocated for my grandchildren, for my kids when they took the FCAT. And I went to Tallahassee, I went to knock on doors and talk to your local legislatures and demand that they help. We elected them, and they can speak for us as well. The next question is from Trini Quiroz, and it's concerning students who are homeless.
I don't need a mic. There are over 210,000 pupils in the school system, and over 10,000 are considered homeless. Somebody's making billions of dollars with all this testing, and I agree with each and every one. Congratulations. I've never seen so many prepared people running for the school board, so I'm confident that whoever wins is going to do a good job. Please, we live in the comfort. God bless you. My question is, what are you intending to do if elected? Diminish this evil of having children sleeping inside the woods, in the carts, whatever. Over 10,000 homeless children. What is the system going to do?
You know, when it comes to homelessness, that's such a complicated question. Number one, right now, currently, the meals that the children get at the schools, the breakfast and the lunch, may be the only meals they get all day. So number one, you have to protect that. Right now, the county spends about $155 million a year in the food service. And I will tell you, not just that, because when you start pulling the children from 192 in the temporary, from the extended stay facilities, like on 192, anywhere that you find extended stay hotels, you're going to find families that are considered homeless. We've got to partner more. Right now, again, it's some things. Orange County Public Schools is not doing a bad job there. They need to, maybe a little tweaking there. we need to partner more with local business. We live in the most magical county in the world. So that being said, we need to partner with local businesses to make sure we can find jobs for families and to counsel. Because a lot of times mom or dad are out working and the kid is sitting in that hotel room or in that tent in the woods or in the car that they're parked right down the school. So they're going to need more emotional, they're going to need more counseling. And right now, currently, the school district splits a lot of the psychologists. So there's one psychologist between 3 or 4 schools. You know, when they're chopping up that time, it's very difficult to give the children the time that they need. So you've got to invest in that area.
When we think about homeless students, we have to think that we have to include them and we have to make them comfortable in the classroom. They have to feel welcome and they have to feel the same way the most rich student in the school is feeling. They deserve the same opportunity. They deserve high expectations every day. And they need to feel that they're gonna have a place to live the next day. I never think about this question. I want to be honest with you. And this is something that today, I'm thinking that this is something that we have to talk about it because I heard that OCPS is the second largest or richest community organization in Florida. I think the first one is Disney. But I don't know a lot about that aspect. We have people here that they can tell us more about that part. But I think that we have to sit down with community leaders, with nonprofit, and we have in OCPS the Foundation for OCPS. I was part of that group. I never heard about this initiative, any initiative related to homeless students or homeless families from OCPS. It's a great question. I think that this is a priority because that's more than 10,000 students that are suffering because they don't have where to live. I also know that we have problems in housing right now. We are having problems in insurance. We're living in a place that right now we have to work on that. We even have displaced families from Puerto Rico that are homeless. And I think that number is increasing. I think that we have to sit down round tables, public forum like this, and also talk to nonprofit organizations and different organizations to see what can we do.
Thank you for this question. I feel very similar to you. It's heartbreaking. It's not a new problem, though. It's been around for many, many years, unfortunately. The average age of homelessness in the United States is 7, if you can believe that. The average age of homelessness in the entire United States, out of every person who is homeless, the average age is 7. It's heartbreaking. Central Florida is not immune to it, but it is one of the largest areas in the United States in terms of the numbers of homelessness. So, one of the things that I have worked on quite a bit over the years that I've been with OCPS is working with our McKinney-Vento program, which is a funded program from the state that brings resources to these families. They are allowed to make sure that the students stay in their schools that they are zoned in, so that if they move around from hotel to hotel or couch to couch, that they're able to have some stability in their lives by staying at their school with their friends, with the teachers they know. Because our mobility rate in Central Florida is huge. The numbers of students that go from Osceola to Orange to Seminole and back in 1 year, there are some schools that have over 100% mobility rate, which means 100% of the kids go in the first day of school, go out at some point, and come back in 1 school year. So the McKinney-Vento program works with those families. The key with McKinney-Vento, though, is they have to be coded in the system correctly, which means that somebody at the school has to make sure that those families are identified. And so we need to make sure that those counselors, the principals, the teachers know about the program. And they've done a really good job with it. But the other thing that I think it really comes down to when we figure out how to solve this problem, it is going to be through partnerships, mostly with our local government. That's where we need to work on, but it is a recurring problem.
Thank you, Katharina, for the question. Homelessness is a really big issue in our districts. I work for Osceola County Public Schools, and just to give you an overview, FIT families in transition, which is what they're called. We have 1,200 students in our school, 1,250, and 122 of that total are FIT families. We have families living with friends, with other family members, and a lot in hotels. So it is, we say it, but to see the enormity of it is really scary because it's so vast. I think that we need to really make an extra effort in providing, in ensuring that those families are connected with community services, that our guidance counselors and our social workers are readily available. However, we do have that issue that, we have one guidance counselor for 1,200 kids at an elementary school, or we have one social worker that covers 8 schools. So how do you get those services immediately out to families when our staff is so overworked already? So one thing is making sure that we have enough resources within our own school systems to be able to provide those services out. Because we can't do that if we don't have the services. So we have a lot of our own staff, our own teachers, giving families supports, because we can't do nothing else than that. I think that we do need to work with our community government, with our commissioners for that district, and have them help us to connect those services to those families and bring it back to the schools. Our schools have become not only learning institutions, but homes, because we provide those meals, we provide the support, we provide the love and the care, and we provide that incentive to come back the next day.
So I'm sure I'll repeat some of the information that's already been shared, but that's 1 in 20 students. 1 in 20 students. That's an amazing statistic. And the biggest part of this this question is the identification of these students, because when we think homelessness, we think someone living in the woods, on the street, in a car. But we have students who are homeless because they're living at a friend's house. We have students who are homeless because their family is at an aunt's or at a cousin's or just some neighbor that they were lucky to find. So that identification of the students is number one. And then with the increase of school psychologists, safe coordinators, social workers on campus, we can actually talk to these students and families and identify what are the reasons that these families are in this situation. And that's when we start to work on the progress of trying to help them, get them jobs, work with the local government, work with the school-based programs. Some of the things that we've done at Lincoln High School in the recent past is we've created a food pantry. In addition to the school-funded programs that you have for food, there's actually a food pantry where students can come get anything that they need. They have toiletry supplies, things that they need to live, that they can go to the school and get. Another program that's been created is a prom closet, where students that are going to prom, to homecoming, to quinceañeras, they can come to this closet. These are all donations from the community in our particular area, where kids can come and get dresses, shoes, jewelry, so they can enjoy their prom and the events that they have at school. So many things that can be done here, and I think it starts in our community. District 2, we need to focus on reaching out to our community members, the parents, the businesses, and that's where we can kind of come together as a community and take care of our students that are at our District 2 schools, and then work on the district as a whole.
Sorry if I'm butchering this. Wonky Young, a student at Timber Creek High School. This is her question right now. As a student in the orchestra program at Timber Creek, She feels that the program the arts are underfunded as opposed to programs such as the athletics and the Student Government Association, SGA. It has come to her attention to the point where students are actively fundraising to keep their program alive. So a lot of clubs at Timber Creek have to fundraise to, get t-shirts and things like that.
My question is, as a potential board member, what is your opinion on the underfunding of the arts, and what actions would you take to alleviate this problem?
I always think about STEM because every money goes to STEM most of the time. Nobody's thinking about languages, nobody's thinking about arts, and arts are very important. We need to support the arts department, and we have to support world languages. Sometimes when I pay grants, when I see grants at school, is about STEM, and STEM is very important. But we have a lot of kids that are focused on music, on language arts, world languages, and sometimes for example, I'm thinking about Timber Creek, Colonial, and Lake Nona. When I see those orchestra, I believe that they have to go further to do fundraising with parents. But when you see Title I school like Colonial High School, that you don't have enough parental involvement, in this case, it's more difficult for them to have fundraising. I think that the school board needs to develop initiatives and programs to develop more the orchestra programs in every high school, and also try to develop in middle school, so students just follow up with the strength of the instrument. But sometimes we can have relationships with non-profit organizations that are willing to give an instrument and just donate money to the orchestra department, to the art department, and work with the sponsor of the orchestra. But sometimes schools or principals are not allowing non-profit to get involved in the school. I think that this is something that the parents can be also involved and just talk and go to the school board members and try to talk about this problem that you're facing with the funding, because I think that you work aligned with different high schools with the same problem, and you talk with organizations and community leaders, you can have more fundraising at your school level. But with me, you have all my support. I think that arts needs more support as well, like STEM. I think that we have to encourage our kids to have more funding on arts and language and world language.
The arts are truly transformational. I'm lucky enough to be able to attend each year for the last 3 or 4 years the kickoff for the school year by all the arts teachers. They have a professional development day, usually the Wednesday before school starts, and they all come together in one place and they get professional development. We have all sorts of partnerships with Rollins and UCF and the orchestra and the ballet and all kinds of wonderful people who are experts in their fields and artists in their own right who come in and give our teachers some enrichment so that when they start the school year, they're able to start off on a great foot. We are very lucky in Orange County because we are doing much better when it comes to the arts than many of the other counties in the state and many of the other states in our nation. In Orange County, we offer every single student the ability to take an arts class. That is unheard of in many school districts around our country, especially in these days when funding gets cut all the time. So we're committed to arts, and it is something that I would continue very vociferously to make sure that we continue our importance and our commitment to the arts programs. When it comes to some of those partnerships that we do already have with many of these nonprofit organizations, they are doing quite a bit. One of the things that I think that we need to look at is making sure that they are working together and not in a silo with one school and one arts organization. The other thing that we need to look at is our partnerships and our ability to work with the parents. There are many schools that don't have the extras. They have the classes, they have the teachers, but they don't have the extras. And one of the things that is a great success story in our county is actually from Johanna's school, Colonial High School. The principal was able to find room in his school budget to make sure that any student who wanted to join the band or drama was able to do so at no cost. And that's a huge role model that we can use for the rest of the district. I'm so sorry.
I totally agree. The arts are truly important. It creates imagination. It creates well-being for our kids. So is sports, you know, when we talk about kinesthetics. But the arts are dear to my heart. I have my grandsons playing the orchestra at Innovation Middle School. So they're always fundraising, right? Making sure my daughter goes out and they stand and do car washes and do all kinds of things. But I think that when you talk about funding for the arts, I think we do need to make those partnerships with our community. We have a lot of talent out there. We have a lot of organizations, art galleries, the Shakespeare Theater. We have all these community, big, large companies that, even the Dr. Phillips Performing Arts, that can come out and bring supports and bring dollars into the schools to be able to enhance the arts within your schools for whatever they do. I think that we have also, for instance, I know that our Orlando Hispanic Lions Club that I belong to, we do a piece of post contest every year, and we involve the middle schools and high schools to be able to, and we give funding, right? They win a prize and encourage and enrich the arts in our schools. But I think that we need to be able to have those partnerships and those talks with our not only with our parents, because our parents put out a lot of money, and we do it wholeheartedly. I put out money for my grandsons all the time, for uniforms, for whatever, and we do it. But I think that we need to be able to sit down, make those connections, help people have buy-in to the schools of our community. Those are their community schools. They should have some kind of partnership and agreements and buy-in to what we do. Because what we do is key, because those kids are our future. Those are the arts that are going to come. Those are the future artists and musicians that we're going to have. So we need to make those kind of partnerships.
So I have a funny story. I grew up playing athletics from the age of 5, baseball, football. Was an athletic coach, assistant athletic director. But I have 2 daughters, and neither of them played sports. And specifically my younger daughter, she's a 3rd grader. She's at Magic Curtain Productions, which is just down the street off of Alafaya. And we tried to get her to play soccer. She played 1 season, and that was enough. 1 season and she was retired. So for me, performing arts is so personal. Not only because of my family, but at Lake Nona High School, I'm actually a member of their thespian troupe, 7434, as an honorary member, because I was actually in 4 of their productions, In the Heights, West Side Story, I was in Hairspray, and then there was an additional one where, and I won't tell you what my part was, I was actually the Flasher, believe it or not. So that's how I'm known at Lake Nona. But for me, it's not just football. You mentioned football specifically versus the other art programs. But I think if you ask all of the other sports besides football, their parents and the student athletes, they're having the same struggle that orchestra's having, that the bands having, chorus, and all the other programs that aren't football. And to me, it's a challenge, and I'm sure if there's parents in this room, you know how much you have to fundraise, the car wash that you have to go to, the discount cards you have to sell. So fundraising really in Orange County Public Schools, and specifically high school, is non-stop. And so for me, 100% I'm going to support the performing arts. Number one, because it's personal as a father, and as someone who is a member of the troupe at Lake Nona High School. I think the things that our kids do is amazing. These are some of the hardest working students that are in performing arts. They practice more than the football team, more than the lacrosse team. They spend weekends, they go to conferences. It's so valuable, and it just leads to great academic success as well.
Thank you, and I'm so glad we got this question because it's one of my platform items. When you look at the arts, you want to know what makes a successful scientist, a successful architect, someone that's using science. Is that abstract thinking that comes from being an artist and being able to think outside the box. One of the things that I was blessed enough to be a part of, that last year, I was treasurer for Orange County PTAs. And it's interesting to be able to see the diversity of the ability to fundraise in different schools. And I'm going to say this, whether you know it or not. Thank you to every single person in here because you voted a $1 mil sales tax that actually goes to doing this. So that's why we're able to do these things. So when you look at the reasons why, you actually have already paid for part of that being there. So when you look at the arts programs, you've got, again, it's been said here, but I'll reinforce it. In Lake Nona, at North Lake Park, we're very blessed again that we're able to raise money to do these things. The extracurriculars are always going to cost more money, and there will never be enough to go around. But I will tell you this, I promise you, once I'm elected, I'm going to make you this pledge. I get $40,000 a year as an ancillary fund. I will donate half of that to the arts programs through different organizations. So I will make sure that half of that goes directly to the clubs and all of the other arts programs out there, band or anything like it.
And then the next question is from India Hill concerning teacher contracts.
Can't step out to get her. Are you her ally? No, you speak for her. For else.
What strategies are you going to employ to ensure our teachers receive a fair contract in a timely manner?
Very good question. Teachers and the district bargain their contract out, and so our Classroom Teachers Association, of which there are many representatives here today, are the main bargainers who are at the table with the district making that contract happen. In terms of making it happen on a regular basis and on a timely basis, for many reasons, and not just timeliness, I plan to be a part of the bargaining process more so than I think the person who's been in this job, Ms. Flynn, has been in the past, and that's not a dig on her at all. It's just something that I feel like it's a very important thing for a board member to be a part of, to be able to listen in, be able to weigh in on some of the issues as they're going through in the way that it is allowed during bargaining, and there are specific rules on that. But the other thing I think that what India may have been alluding to is keeping our teachers, retention, recruitment of new teachers as well, which is a really big issue here in Orange County. We need to make sure that our teachers not only are feeling like they are valued as professionals, but they need to feel like that on a daily basis. And unfortunately, many of them don't feel like that right now. Was that a hit? Sorry. No. Okay. They don't feel like that on a regular basis right now. There is a lot of strain in some of our schools. And so I think we need to make sure that we can look at the culture that's in our schools and in our school district and make it more positive, release the pressure. I feel like some of our schools are a little bit of a pressure cooker. And so we need to release that pressure, be able to make sure that our administrators and our teachers are working in partnership, and that our district and our CTA are bargaining in partnership as well.
I truly believe in collective bargaining. I've been a member of CTA for 20 years. I have a funny story about that real quick. My father was a retired teacher, and the first thing when I called him to tell him, oh, I got a job as a teacher 20 years ago, the first thing he told me was, when do you start? I said, Monday. He goes, okay, on Monday I want you to go to your school, find who your CTA representative is, and join the union. That's the first thing my dad told me. That's the first thing I did. And I've been a member of the CTA and helped in bargaining for many years. And I worked in Orange County. I'm an active member of CTA in Osceola County. I think that when you talk about bargaining, we want to sit down, we want to have those conversations. I think the board members need to take a more active role in that position in making sure that we listen, that we actually have those conversations back and forth, and that you are able to come to decisions that are in the best interest of our teachers. Our teachers are overworked, underpaid, underappreciated, and we need to bring those things back and the respect back to our profession. I think that is extremely important. I think that when you talk about bargaining, we can bargain locally, but it comes down to that we need to also have a voice in Tallahassee. We need to be able to go to Tallahassee, we need to be able to bargain, we need to be able to sit down, we need to look at the pros, because bargaining is not just about money. It's about, how much time, we spend outside of work doing lesson planning and correcting papers and planning, lessons for our kids. Our teachers don't have any planning time anymore because they're busy doing a professional leadership community within their schools, doing professional development, having a parent meeting, that they have no time for planning in their planning time. So those are part of those bargaining conversations that we need to have in order to bring those things back to our schools.
So public education is under attack, and it's not under attack by the school board of Orange County. It's under attack by the state of Florida when it comes to the defunding, when it comes to the vouchers for private and charter schools, the different kind of scholarships to get kids out of public school, the testing, so many different reasons why public education is under attack. But the number one thing that is still true today, and especially in Orange County Public School, is teachers come to work because they love your students. And they will come to work every single day for you. Okay, and I can vouch for that because I've been doing it for 20 years. But the ultimate thing is we are overworked, and we would love to be paid more. But I don't think the money is so much the key factor here as I think it's the working conditions. I think it's the things that are being asked of us to take away the time that we need for our students, to teach them the standards that we need to teach them, to get to know them even more than we do now, to learn who they are, to actually be able to educate them entirely, not just about the core subject that they're in, but just about life. And to me, I always tell people that I teach my students life lessons because I think that's my job. Okay, and so as a teacher, I believe we need a teacher on the school board because we need somebody that's going to represent us. Right now, we don't have anyone that's representing teachers on the school board. And the Orange County Public School Board, I think, has done a great job to help advocate for us and to advocate in Tallahassee. But we need somebody. Teachers need somebody. The parents, you need a teacher on the school board that's a voice of somebody that's in the classroom every single day, that knows everything that's going on. And so, as a teacher, 100%, I'm going to advocate for our teachers across the district as a school board member in collective bargaining. I'm going to ask the tough questions. I'm going to bring up the things that maybe some people don't know about. And I think as a teacher, I can do that because I have that experience and I'm not afraid to voice my opinion about it.
This is an interesting question because a few weeks ago, most of us were interviewed by the CTA. And it's always interesting when you walk into the room and you look across the floor and you go, there's no way in hell I'm walking out of here with an endorsement. So I told him, I said, look, I know for a fact, I said, I have no delusions. I am not walking out of here with your endorsement. Let me tell you why I am here. I'm here out of respect for what you do for my child and the children of our community every day. So that being said, I was a Ritz-Carlton executive for many years and somehow ended up negotiating contracts in New York with the union, with the Teamsters, the SEIU, and it's, for me, I'm housekeeping, how'd I end up there? Because it's about listening and going into it with realistic expectations. And when you look at really what's happening, it's interesting. We don't have collective bargaining in Orange County. We have collaborative bargaining. And the state of Florida is a right to work state. Teachers don't have the right to strike. So it's not the same as West Virginia, New York, Chicago. Collaborative rights are not the same as collective rights. So again, you've got to be able to understand these things. And when it comes to the current contract, it's a horrible contract. It's whoever wrote it did. Number one, the people that originated that contract, it's written for retail employees. When you look at 37 and a half hours, again, it's a very badly written contract. School board's responsible for budget, policy, discipline, and advocation. So by the time it gets to the school board, you've got to either be a part of the process, because at the end, you don't have a lot ready to go at that point. So you've got to be a part of that process. And I think for the most part, I'm the only one up here that's really been a part of a collective bargaining agreement. So that translates very well into collaborative bargaining.
As a member of the CTA from Orange County Public Schools, I'm going to be the voice for teachers. I believe that our teachers are underpaid as well, like my peers tonight. I also feel that we are overwhelming because of the load of work that we have. The evaluations are not fair, are not culturally relevant for Orange County Public Schools. I think that we have a lack of autonomy in our classroom. I think that as a school board, I made sure that the voice of the teachers could be heard. I think that most of our teachers are afraid of speaking up because of the evaluation system. I think that it is time to be in the school board and speak up the situations that we are living in our classrooms. I think we have amazing school board members, but we need a teacher in the seat for District 2.
The next question and final question of the night is from Timber Creek's PTSA. The sustainability movement is in full force in our country and world. Millennials and college students understand this and have embraced it. What would you do to support the Green School program in OCPS, and especially green curriculum in the classrooms at all grade levels?
Well, thank you for the question from PTA. I think that's a good question. I think the millennials, besides being technologically inclined, I think that they're more earthly inclined as well. I think that we have great opportunities with the STEM programs that we have in place to be able to put, especially at the high school levels, because our middle schools don't have a lot of land to be able to do that, to pull that off. But I think at the high school levels, we have a lot of opportunities to be able to develop greenhouses, develop a curriculum that is green, that we can teach our kids how to recycle, how to do those recyclings, how to go out into the community and do those hours of community-based instruction that they need to do, and be able to connect with other community partners to be able to provide those services out in the community. I think to get real life experiences, I think that we can partner with those, with green companies that are in our community to come in and help us develop those curriculums, or bring experts. I mean, why do we have to go pay experts when we have experts already within our communities that we can bring in as partners and have them become more engaged in our community, in the schools that they serve, that we serve. I think that at the elementary level and middle school level, we can start building those partnerships with green, with recycling. I think that we can look at our food department, our food services department, and be able to talk to them about what's more healthier. Have you looked at the lunch menu lately? Okay, enough said about the lunch menu. But I think that we can bring those kind of services in talking with the food department, and bringing experts to make our more green, so we can be more nutrition, more healthy nutrition, so we can reduce the obesity level that we have with our children. And those are things that are important.
So sustainability, green curriculum, in addition to some other topics. So I'll just speak quickly on 3 different things that I would like to address. Sustainability, I think solar energy is becoming something that's very popular, and I think if we can get into some sort of solar energy in our new schools and potentially add that to our existing schools, but doing it with it being fiscally responsible, because I know there's some homes that are starting to get solar, especially in our area with all the new homes, and whether there's a cost advantage there. So we want to make sure we have good research on potentially doing some solar stuff. I think the new construction for schools is started to think about green sustainability, so where you have motion detection inside the buildings, where you're not wasting energy. We have the shut-off program where schools are shut down during long breaks. We have the nightly shutdown of air conditioning, things like that to save money and to help be green. The construction, building schools vertical instead of horizontally, we can sustain or protect some of our environment in conservation areas. Specifically athletic fields at high school, we could look at potentially installing turf fields so we can save on water, we can save on the replacement of grass every single year. I know Timber Creek High School has struggles with their football field annually, as well as Lake Nona, and I remember as a Colonial football player back in the 90s, the football field was an issue. And specifically digital curriculum and decreasing the amount of paper. I'll caution here, the digital technology that we've introduced in Orange County has been great. However, I think it's gone too fast, too much. And what I mean by that is the kids are struggling with that digital curriculum because the buy-in that we were supposed to implement initially as schools that were digital implementation was all in. And what happens is the students struggle initially, and we need to have a good balance of that digital curriculum in addition to the traditional curriculum.
I am so glad we got this question. It's actually one of my platform points. I'd like to see a solar project done. I know that the district's actually looked at it before, and again, there's something to be looked at for worrying about your ROI on that. So again, you take from your capital and renovation budget, you put the solar on, and again, I'm not asking for an entire school district right away, but a couple per district, and then the savings that you get from those schools are real dollars that go straight back into your class from your energy savings. Now, that being said, it's got to start, again, it's got to start in construction. When you look at construction, again, this is where construction's construction, it translates. It's called LEED certifications. So when you've got your buildings that are LEED certified, that is your first step in sustainability to really do it, because every new building that we build needs to be LEED certified. And I know that they're already working on that kind of thing because I've probably been to 30, 40 school board meetings, and you hear it from time to time. So when you start looking at sustainability, and again, you talk about the food, you talk about composting. There is a tremendous number and a tremendous amount of food thrown away on a daily basis at OCPS. So that being said, there are composting programs that we can use. The city of Orlando currently has compost that they're giving away for free, but not on a commercial level. So that being said, when you start looking at sustainability, and it's going to be cultural. When you go to certain neighborhoods, again, in my neighborhood, everybody's doing it, but before, in 150 homes, maybe 20 people were recycling. So it's a little cultural, so we've got to educate our communities a little bit more of the importance of that. Thank you.
Integrate the green schools are very important for our environment. I believe that we have to recycle in our schools. In Colonial High School, we have a green club that they just recycle the paper. We have to put the paper the few paper because now we are a technological school, but we put it in another trash can, and they just collect all the papers just to be recycled. I also believe that we have to buy recycled materials for the classroom and also educate our parents and students and teachers about the importance of the green schools. That's the only way that we can be more aware and participating more on the green schools.
Taking my notes because I wrote down a lot on this one. I'm one of those people who actually takes used cans out of other people's garbage and recycles it. It drives me crazy when I see that they're, and I don't mean walking down the street taking people's garbage, just so you know, I mean like at work. Just to be clear. But I am one of those people that believes wholeheartedly in making sure that everything that we're doing is as sustainable as possible so that our world gets to be a better place. It's a very simple thing that we can do as individuals. As a district, there are many things that we can be doing. There are a couple of schools that I wanted to bring to your attention that are specifically doing some great things, and that is Linnea Gardens Elementary, which just today was given an award, and I don't know that it's been released, so don't tell anybody this as I'm thinking about it. They're getting a leadership award to the LEAD program that Chadwick was talking about, because they have so many sustainable projects that are going on their campus. I think they have 5 different gardens that they do. They have a butterfly garden, they have a hydroponic garden. They also have a wildlife refuge in the back of their area where they are taking in gopher tortoises that are found and need to be rehomed. But there's another example right up the street, right up Alafayas, Castle Creek Elementary. And that school has done so many amazing, amazing things over the last couple of years. And this is why I had to have my notes, because I wrote them down. And I made a video about this maybe a year and a half ago or so, and I'll post it on my Facebook page so you guys can see it, because I'm never going to be able to say everything that they have. But they have share tables, they have recycling in the cafeteria. Every single piece of decor in their school is done with recycled materials. Every classroom curriculum embeds recycling and sustainability into their projects, and lots more.
All right, well, we're actually out of time. I know we covered a lot of ground, and I know there's a lot more ground that we can cover, but I really hope that you guys got a lot out of tonight. We do have more information for you that we're going to share in a Google Drive. And I'm going to put up a slide with that information in just a moment. It will include this voter's guide that we handed out tonight, as well as all of the questions and answers that we asked of all of the District 2 candidates, the District 1 candidates, and the chair candidates. So you'll be able to research this. And then you have their information here as well, website information, biographical information. So we hope we've given you the tools to research, to figure out what you need to do. We feel it's important. We've stressed to our kids that are here tonight, our beta students, hey, you're voting, maybe this year, maybe next year, in a few years, get involved. They're making decisions for you. They're making decisions for all of us, and we appreciate all of your time, all of the energy that you guys spent answering our questions and bearing with us as we brought all of this together. It was a lot of hard work, but this was a passion thing for me and Lori, and we really appreciate you taking the time, and we appreciate everyone else coming out and taking the time tonight as well. So, thanks.
Each candidate has made their voices heard tonight. The primaries will be held on August 28th of this year, so be sure to learn more about your candidates for the District 1 representative, District 2 representative, and school board chair in order to make an informed decision for when you vote. I'm Katharina Wolf, reporting for Timber Creek.